But Staffy, I wanted to ask you because I know all week you've been getting on at me, and you wanted to ask me about my standards for what a good summer looks like, and I want to hear yours as well. But go on, say what you got to say because I want everyone to know.
What do you mean?
Well, you've been telling me all week that you want to have a pop at me, so.
Oh no, I don't have questions. We've just been talking, and I'm not gonna lie, I was just doing a Terry special. Sometimes you like to get us to give you statements on what we think exactly what's gonna happen and a prediction, stuff like that. And I just wanted to know what you think because we've been sitting here talking about July. I know there was no deals that are gonna happen as soon as July hits because we didn't have anything that was close to here we go. So I'm not surprised on July 4th we have no here we goes that are potentially going to hit at any time because we are not close to selling Garnacho. We're not close to selling Rashford. We're not close to selling Anthony. Probably the closest, funny enough, that we're going to sell is Essential because the rumors are that he's willing to take a wage cut to go to Juventus. I'm not happy with the summer. I'm just going to tell you this from right now. I'm not happy with the summer. It was just so obvious that I think we're going to have a poor summer again. The players are reporting back in 3 days. They're going to start getting pretty ready for preseason. In about 20 days or so, we're going to be playing our preseason games in the United States. We only have one signing in, and Buemo's not in yet. We're doing all that off of our worst season ever, 15th in the Premier League. So 15th, and we're doing business slower than everyone around us when we should be doing double the work that everyone else is doing so we can just try to catch up to them. I think the summer has been a complete failure already, and I'm not going to lie, as it looks, we're just going to be in for another poor start of the season. And we know what happens when United start seasons poor. They end up having poor seasons. Now, with that being said, that's basically everything I feel. You've spoken about criticizing the club if in the first week of preseason, 3 signings not in. I need you to clarify a little bit. Because what is the first week of preseason? Is it the first week of officially July? Is it officially the first week when the players go back for training and they regroup? Or is it exactly from the first kickoff of our first preseason game? Because some of us look at preseason a little bit different. I want your statement so we know how to move forward.
I look at it, well, there's only one way of looking at preseason.
Don't laugh, though.
There's only one way to look at preseason, and that's from the day that the players return to training.
So in 3 days.
Yes.
You know, it's so funny hearing you lot talking about the players coming back because we've been non-stop. We've been playing still. Chelsea been playing still, bro. I even forgot that.
So I can understand needing clarity if we were in Chelsea's situation, but for me, the first week is the end of the first week. So by the time we're starting that second week, so the 14th of July, by then, at that date at the latest, I want to see 3 new signings. Why? First week of preseason is predominantly running and fitness training as opposed to tactics. And everybody kind of knows fitness tests, checking this, checking weight, etc. So these players could start that at one club, do something at home. It's not going to ruin your season. It's the second week when more work around the tactics, the systems start. And I've said all along, and I haven't changed my stance on this. I think I said it as far back as March on the United Stand as well, the biggest Man United platform in the world. I'd like 3. 4 would have been beyond brilliant, but at least 3 new players. Right now, it looks like we'll have 2 because I do think Mbeumo is very, very close to happening. I think everybody knows that. The problem is after that is whether or not we can bring in. I think the third person would be Gyökeres if he didn't want Arsenal, and we haven't moved on from that yet. So that's something I'm still frustrated with because we don't seem to have many other options outside of that right now. But I can understand why we'd wait. However, I'm still going to...
Hold on. You got Watkins right there, bro.
No, but when I say we have Watkins, again, this is the thing, right? And this is the problem with wanting everything done quickly. I agree with that. And I still want my standard of 3 players. But if I was to ask you this question now, this is about us being grown-ups. If I said to you now, Staffy, Ollie Watkins we can have today, so he starts preseason Monday. We can have Ollie Watkins today. But you can have Gyökeres on the 24th of July or the 1st of August, but we get Gyökeres. Would you rather wait for Gyökeres or have Ollie Watkins today?
But why would I have to do this scenario? This is what I don't like. Why do I have to always pick the least of the worst scenarios? I don't like Ollie Watkins anyways. Okay. So that you already know that I don't want him.
Okay. So, so let me tell you why, though. I'll tell you why I'm asking that scenario. Because they're the players we're actually linked to. They're the only 2 strikers' names. Again, we can change Ollie Watkins and say Mateta, but there's been no credible link to Mateta in the past 4 weeks. So for me, I look at it this way. I want the 3 by that date. I'm frustrated if we don't get it. I'll criticize it. However, I'm always open-minded. So, for instance, say we end up with Mbermo and we have Cunha, but then 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks into preseason, Arsenal land Šeško, Gyökeres is available and we get him. I'm then glad we didn't rush today and go and get Watkins because I think Gyökeres is better. So I'm always open-minded to me saying, yeah, I would have preferred a fast start with the players through the door. But I look at it this way. If you wanted clarity, I can explain it all to you thoroughly. You don't have to agree with it. I look at it this. Buying the right profile is the most important thing, even if they all come on the final day of the window. The second most important thing for me is getting them at a fair and correct price so we don't run out of money in the future. The third most important thing, but it is important, is the speed of execution. But at the same time, I'd rather the right player in a month at the right price than the other end of the spectrum, which is the wrong player or not as good a player for too much money early. And that's why I don't necessarily look at it as a black and white approach of we need to have all the business done by this day. Otherwise, it's a complete and utter disaster. I think selling Sancho at a loss, Anthony at a loss, Rashford or loaning him out at a loss today is more detrimental to the future of Man United than waiting a month from now to sell them and making a profit. So there are some elements that are nuanced that you have to discuss, but I do have standards for this summer, and I'll be heavily frustrated if we're going into that second week of preseason when the tactics come in and you've just got Cunha there and nothing else is moving. If the sales of these players we've mentioned are not becoming closer, I will be frustrated and I'll criticize it, but I'll criticize it as we go along because I don't know what the end is going to look like. And sometimes that end result, you look at it and go, Arsenal, great example. They could have got Sane 3 weeks ago, but they're waiting for Rodrigo. I get why they're waiting. And that's quite a public example. And sometimes it's just a case of, I'm going to be annoyed, but I'm not going to show my ass and make blanket statements. Those blanket statements may end up being true. We may start the summer badly. We may end the summer badly. We may have a bad early season and a terrible season. We can bring it right back. But I'm just not going to personally make a statement that I don't know if it's 100% true yet. You know, we could moan today about not getting someone, but have a brilliant signing in 4 weeks' time because we waited. And I just feel like I'd feel a bit stupid and maybe a little bit hollow, then celebrating it after saying it's been a catastrophic summer and making that statement. So I just tend to hold back slightly. That's all.
Let me ask you then, Terry. Yeah, like when for you is the point when you, I'm going to use your word, when you start to panic a bit, right? When would you say, like, because it's the 14th of July now.
So panic doesn't come on the 14th because the word panic isn't right. I'll start panicking if preseason's looking bad, if we're not getting, every week goes by, no one's being sold, we're no closer to signing anybody, we're playing bad football, then I'm going to start to get more and more. It's like an escalation. But then equally, I'm not going to make a carpet statement of this. I'll say if nothing changes from this point, we're fucked next season. I'll say something along those lines I would expect. But what I'm not going to do on the 14th of July is go, that's it, season's fucked, season's finished, nothing can be done to change it. Because you both know that isn't true if the right things happen. So me not completely writing the season off on the 7th of July, the 14th of July, the 22nd of July, the 21st of July, doesn't mean like I won't criticize things along the way. I'm just not making a statement that I don't know if it's true. Now, I could make the statement, we have a shit summer, we have a shit season. I could go, fucking hell, I was right. And that's cool. But I just don't move like that in life. I just don't, that's just not how I do things in life, in business, with my kids. You know what I mean? I don't tell my kids off before they've done something wrong. I have to wait for them to do it. And I just sort of feel like there's not much. Again, I banter Staffy about him moaning and stuff because he's someone I really like. Staffy, he's a really good guy, and I have a laugh and a joke. And but this is a humidifier. People are asking what the smoke is. Humidifier.
Looks like the Undertaker, but go ahead.
I like it. But yeah, for me, I'm not gonna not criticize. I'm just not gonna make any sweeping statements yet because I don't know what I don't know. That's all it really is for me.
I think there's two things here. I think Terry's still trying to work out what Ineos are like, and he's hoping as a fan, because we all hope as fans that the club are going to move correct. That's how I'm kind of sensing it from Terry. Whereas Staffy is more on the skeptical side of Ineos because of the mistakes that he's already seen them make. So you both of you are fair in what you're saying, but you're coming to a different outcome because you feel you're feeling different. You're feeling indifferent about Ineos. Like, for example, let's say you had, I don't know, Man City's board, yeah, or Liverpool's board, that we know these guys move serious and they get things wrapped up. I think you guys would be on the same page about things. I don't think you'd be panicking as much. But right now, you're in a zone where it's like Ineos have only been here for what, a year now. They've only had that obviously last summer, but you're still trying to work them out. So I
get that. And the thing is, I didn't even think I don't actually think player-wise we had a bad summer last year. There was a profile of midfielder we didn't buy that I agree with Staffy on. I actually still think Ugarte will have a very important role within this squad. Again, me and Staffy actually don't disagree on a lot of things. It's just we view them from different angles. So I'm not angry we bought Ugarte. I'm angry that we didn't buy somebody else alongside him. That's kind of how I view it. Because I think a player like him is important in Premier League football to have. But I do agree, like even Inos, it was very well documented that most of the guys making decisions weren't even fully under the table at this time last season. So there was this overlap that was awful, and it was a poor year. So I do agree. And this here from Joe, and I always take the criticisms as Terry Grower pair for once. Doesn't mean you've got a big pair of bollocks just because you shout your mouth off and always making big statements. That's not. I'll tell you this now: being negative and being wrong versus being positive and being wrong. You need a lot more balls to be positive. When you're negative, you get a lot of crap. But then if you're wrong, you get to join the party. How do I know this? Been in this industry 10 years. I'll tell you now. If Staffy says at the beginning of the season, we're going to have the worst season imaginable, and we end up winning the league, Staffy is there on the last day of the season joining in with the rest of us partying. If I say I think we can finish 8th and we end up coming 12th, I'll never live it down. You'll just get abused every single day. So you want to talk about having balls? I think it takes balls to give opinions irrespective. But for me, when I'm not convinced about something, this is the thing. For me to make a statement that by the 14th of July, our season's over if we haven't done all the things I want on that exact date, that's a statement that I would be lying to you to give. So you might look at it and go, Terry's brave, he's got balls saying the season's over, but I'd be lying because I don't know at that point. And I'm not going to say things that I don't know or believing. I'm not going to. It's why these shows are called Straight Facts, literally because of this reason. People that say things that are opinions and go facts, bruv. I literally invented this show it's the name of the title of the show to take the piss out of idiots that think opinions are facts. I still can't believe after 5 years people don't realize that. So yeah, it's not about having balls. And equally, that doesn't mean I disagree with some of the things Staffy says, but he's making a fair point. Me bantering him and saying he's negative, it's just me having a laugh with a mate. He's entitled to see what he thinks, but I'm very happy to be criticized or challenged on any views on things that I have. I also look at it this way. So Staffy, you maybe do a lot of research in the last couple of weeks, a lot of research, because you got my mind working. And one of the things that I researched was the Prem proven stuff. And this is fascinating because we looked at Man City and we both agreed they haven't bought a lot from the Premier League. But then I started looking at all the successful teams in Europe. So in the last decade, this is where clubs buy the majority of their players from. Man City's is the Premier League. The highest percentage is 20%, followed by La Liga at 15%. Liverpool, 27% the Prem, 27% Germany, to be fair. Arsenal, 26% the Prem, 13% La Liga. Chelsea, 25% the Prem, 15% League R. Real Madrid, 21% Brazil, Spain, and actually 21% from Brazil. Barcelona, 24% from La Liga, 20% from the Premier League. Bayern Munich, 41% from the Bundesliga, 17% from the Premier League. You then go to the big Portuguese teams. Most of them buy from Portugal, and so on and so forth. The highest percentage of nearly every successful club across every country, major league in Europe of the last decade, predominantly their biggest percentage of buys is from there. Interestingly, their second and third biggest are nearly always the top 3 leagues in England. It's nearly always England, La Liga, and Germany, no matter what league they're in. Interestingly, Man United, the only team with Serie A and the Eredivisie in its top 3. And we're the only one in that whole period that hasn't been at least been in the league title race. So it's one of those things where I do think it holds water that Prem proven or La Liga proven if you're in Spain or Bundesliga proven holds water. Equally, where I agree with you is that you don't have to buy every player from those leagues. I think that's right. But the one thing that's interesting is both the 2 teams that won the league in the last decade, barring Leicester, all 3 of their top 3 leagues they buy from is their own league, the Prem, La Liga, and the Bundesliga. There's something in the fact they're buying most players from the best 3 leagues, the strongest 3 leagues in Europe. You compare it to Man United, who are buying from Italy first, then the Eredivisie, then the Premier League. It's crazy. Like, I think there's whole facts in that. And the other thing that I looked into was about the amount of transfers that are actually done at this stage of a transfer window. And it's crazy. Like, still at this stage, 28 days into a window, if we're including that opening 10-day period, you're still only looking at, on average, of 1.5 out of 5 transfers being completed at this stage. And I do get your point that United maybe need to work faster because we've got to catch people up. The problem is when you look at those numbers, that average is from 2003 until now. And rarely does that average go up by any in particular club this early on in the window. And I do want to see it improve. At the same time, what I'm not going to do is set a standard that is well and far above the typical the typical incomes for this stage of a transfer window, including teams like Man City and Liverpool that are seen as very well run and operate correctly. So I will always criticize where I think it's due, but at the same time, I don't want to set unrealistic expectations as my standards that I know are not going to be achieved. I'm not suggesting you're doing that. I just went and did some research off things that you said, especially when it comes to like the Bayern Prem proven thing, because I always felt that was real. And I think the evidence suggests that there's something in it. But yeah, for me, I'm going to wait until that first week of preseason before I start to really judge the summer. But then I'm still going to be open-minded.
Okay. Do you think we're going to have our signings before that 1 week, those 3 signings?
Right now, my gut says no. I think we'll have 2. So
Okay.
again, when we say those signings, well, I'll be very fair because I'm not going to move the goalposts. We might pivot and go and get a goalie or like a backup defender. That isn't I won't go see got 3 Staffy. I won. I won't do that. I'm looking at 2 10s and a striker. If we pivoted from the striker and went and bought Belieber or a brilliant like first team defender or midfielder, then I would say yes, we've got 3 in. But if we sort of pivoted from this and went and got I don't know, Martinez for 20 million quid, I wouldn't look at that and be like, well, that's my free. I'm really looking at 3 outfield players that move the needle for us. Right now, I don't think it's going to happen. But again, because I don't think it's going to happen, I'll say that. I'm very happy to. I've said it on another stream earlier on this week on the United Stand. But what I'm not going to do until that point is start slagging off Ineos because they haven't not achieved it yet. Does that make sense? I can't have a go at someone for not doing something before a deadline, especially if I've got no insight. So I'm not in the negotiation rooms. Does that make sense? So it's like the Mbermo news. There's a few people today that have sort of said that, there's a few rumors today that Arsenal haven't announced Zubimendi today because of what happened with Jota yesterday. And it's almost like clubs are trying to keep things as low profile as possible. There's all sorts of rumors why things have slowed down a bit in the last day or so. I'm not going to say it's that, but who knows? United could have one deal and then another one come out very quickly. So that's why I'm just not going to show my ass, call Ineos idiots, and then they deliver what I want anyway. And I'm left there going, oh, that was a silly thing to say. That's all it is for me, bruv.
I just think naturally people want things done a bit quicker, innit? Like when you're seeing how we literally got Pedro done in the space of a few days, bro, it was mad. You know what I'm saying? So when stuff is looking at things like that, it's like, bro, Cunha's literally told United, I want to go to United. He's fucked off Spurs. He's fucked off Newcastle. Cool, you don't want to be overpaying for these players, but like that's what I mean. Like, how much negotiating are you doing? It's the same energy I had with Caicedo. Remember when I was telling you about Caicedo and I was criticizing how long it was taking? I'm like, what are you guys? What are you talking about? What is this talk about for this long? You know what I mean? Like, so that's what I'm kind of looking at as well, man. I think it's just taking a little bit too long.
I get that, but even with your Pedro deal, see, I don't use that as a total barometer because you guys, he was very willing to go to Newcastle. If Mbermo was willing to join Spurs, I think it would have been done weeks ago. Equally, you guys also wanted him to join up because he's now registered to play. You guys wanted him as an additional attacker for the Club World Cup. I think if Man
United said he only wanted Chelsea.
Okay, okay, but you guys moved, but Newcastle were pursuing him, right? And he was open until you guys got involved. He was. What I'm saying is, if you guys would have just said, "Oh, we'll come back to that later in the summer. We're going to focus on the Club World Cup," he'd have probably become a Newcastle player. So you had to show the intent. Plus, you wanted him to come to the Club World Cup. If Man United were at the Club World Cup, do I think we'd have got a deal or two done earlier in this window? Yes. I think we'd have got the players in for that tournament. So that's the only thing where I'll defend the club regardless is the Club World Cup it's kind of broken the mold a little bit this year because clubs have pushed deals through. And even with Liverpool, both Kirkes and Wirtz were wanted by teams that were there. And Liverpool themselves have said they were kind of forced into negotiating those deals earlier in the window than they wanted. But I do want to see it faster. I do want to see it faster. At the end of the day, if Mbermo was announced last week before, or today, That makes no difference for preseason, and I've set my standard for what I want in preseason. But equally, we're at Stafford's, right? If we get into the second, third games, and we haven't, with no one new's coming in, no one new is leaving, I'll complain. I'll agree it's awful, and I'll say right now this is terrible. 100%, I'll do it. I won't just.
I think there's a